Have you ever woken up one day, looked in the mirror, and thought, when did everything get so hard? Not just walking or standing, but thinking, feeling, even trusting your own body. If you're over Pimthega 3 gain, you've likely felt that shift. The days feel heavier. The energy doesn't come back like it used to. And you start noticing things no one ever warned you about: the silence, the slowness, the surprise of how emotional life can still be. You're not alone. And more importantly, you're not imagining it. Today, and we're going to talk about why aging after 75 feels so much harder, not from fear, but from understanding. Because once you understand what's happening, you can stop blaming yourself and start living with a little more grace, a little more clarity, and a lot more peace. Let's gently explore this truth together. Aging is often described as a slow process, but for many people, something changes after 75, and it changes fast. You may have handled your 60 seconds and even your early 70 seconds with confidence, managing your health, your routine, and your relationships, but sometime after Fimo-Calfierds, a quiet shift happens. Things that once felt manageable begin to feel exhausting. Little tasks demand more effort. Your body recovers slower. You might feel more alone, more uncertain, even if you're surrounded by love. And what makes it harder, no one really talks about it. People say, just keep going. But they don't explain why it suddenly feels so much harder to keep going. This video is here to offer something different: clarity and compassion. We're going to explore the real, honest reasons why aging after 75 feels like a turning point physically, emotionally, and even spiritually. Not to scare you, not to sugarcoat, but to give you language, insight, and comfort in knowing what you're experiencing is real, and you're not the only one feeling it. Let's walk through it slowly, truthfully, and together. One of the hardest parts of aging after 75 is realizing how much longer it takes for your body to recover from almost anything. You might catch a small cold, and instead of shaking it off in a few days, you're still coughing 2 weeks later. A simple stumble that once just bruised your ego now leads to a painful injury that lasts for months. Even a busy day of errands can leave you wiped out the next day. And it's not just frustrating, it's discouraging. This shift often catches people off guard. In your 60 seconds and early 70 seconds, you might have still felt strong. But after Fimo-Calfierds, even the smallest disruptions can throw everything off balance. And that's not weakness. That's biology. As we age, the body's ability to repair itself slows down, cuts take longer to heal, bruises show up easier. A bit of inflammation sticks around longer than it used to. Internally, this is because our cells regenerate more slowly, and our immune systems become less efficient. What used to be just a bad week might now stretch into a month of discomfort. This doesn't mean you're failing. It means your body needs more time and more gentleness than it used to. After 75, small things don't always stay small. A missed meal can lead to dizziness. Mild dehydration can land someone in the hospital. A poor night's sleep can throw off your balance or blood pressure the next day. And it's not just physical, it's emotional. 2. The frustration of having to cancel plans, go slowware, or depend on others can affect your mental well-being. Many older adults feel like they're constantly trying to bounce back, but never quite do. This can make you feel like your body is betraying you when really, it's just doing its best with the energy it has left. When recovery feels slow and risky, it's natural to become more cautious. You might stop walking as far, stop reaching for that high shelf, or stop going out altogether. But here's the difficult truth: the less you move, the more your strength declines, and the more your strength declines, the harder it is to recover from anything. This doesn't mean you need to push yourself too hard. It means finding balance, gentle movement, regular stretching, and staying engaged with your body, because motion, even in small doses, helps keep the healing systems working. So if you've been wondering, why can't I bounce back like I used to? The answer is, you're not alone. And you're not broken. You're older. And your body, after decades of serving you, now needs slower mornings, longer rests, and a different kind of care. That's not failure, that's wisdom. There's a quiet ache that many older adults feel but rarely talk about: the slow, painful loss of independence. When you were younger, being independent was something you barely thought about. You drove yourself to the store, you managed your finances, you made your own schedule. But after years, those everyday freedoms can start to slip away, not all at once, but in small, humbling moments. Maybe it started with no longer feeling safe behind the wheel at night. Then came the day you needed help carrying groceries. And one morning, it hit you. You hadn't left the house alone in weeks. These changes might seem minor from the outside, but inside, they can feel like tiny pieces of your identity falling away. It's not just about what you can or can't physically do, it's about losing the choice. When others start deciding for you when to eat, when to rest, when to take your pills, you can feel like a guest in your own life. For many, the transition to needing help isn't just inconvenient, it's heartbreaking. It means giving up parts of your routine that once gave you pride and purpose. And for some, it becomes even more drastic, like moving into a nursing home. What was promised as a place of safety can suddenly feel like a place of limits. You're no longer in control of the little things: when to wake up, what to wear, how to spend your afternoon. You adjust, yes, but something inside you resists. Because deep down, independence isn't just about doing things. It's about being you. There's also the emotional side of losing independence that rarely gets acknowledged: the shame, the frustration, and the fear of becoming a burden. You may not want to ask for help, even when you need it, because you don't want to feel like a problem someone else has to solve. Many older adults begin to hide their struggles. They say, "I'm fine," even when they're not out of pride, but out of love. They don't want to worry their children. They don't want to make anyone feel guilty. But hiding pain doesn't make it go away. It only deepens the loneliness. The truth is, losing independence doesn't mean you've lost your value. It means you're human, and your needs have changed. There's dignity in asking for help. There's courage in adjusting, and there's wisdom in knowing when to rest and when to accept support. What matters now isn't doing everything yourself. What matters is finding new ways to stay connected to your identity, even if your world looks different than it used to. Maybe you don't drive anymore, but you still choose what music to play in the morning. Maybe you need help cooking, but you still pick the recipe. Maybe you need a walker to move, but you're still the one deciding where to go. Your independence may look different now, but your voice still matters. And as long as you keep choosing what you can, you're still living life on your own terms. One of the most unexpected and painful parts of growing older after 75 is how quiet life becomes. Not just in terms of sound, but in connection. The phone doesn't ring as often, invitations slow down, old friends move away, grow ill, or pass on, and before you know it, your world feels smaller than it used to. This shrinking doesn't happen overnight. It's gradual, so slow, in fact, that you don't even notice it until one day you look around and realize how much time you now spend alone. And here's the truth. No one tells you it's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. This isn't about being forgotten. It's about the way life naturally shifts as we age. When you were younger, social life seemed built in. Work, community, kids' activities, they all created reasons to interact. But after retirement, and especially after 75, those automatic connections begin to fade. People get busy, priorities change, and the effort to stay in touch doesn't always go both ways. You might notice that friends you once saw weekly now only send a card at Christmas, if at all. Your children, though they love you deeply, have lives filled with their own chaos. They mean well, but they don't always realize how much you still need conversation, laughter, and presence. And so, the silence grows. What makes this even harder is that society rarely talks about it. Loneliness in old age is treated like a sad footnote, not the deep emotional weight that it truly is. And because no one wants to admit they're lonely, many older adults simply stay quiet and suffer in silence. But here's something important. Choosing solitude and feeling isolated are not the same thing. In fact, many people after 75 begin to make conscious choices to spend less time in social settings, not because they're antisocial, but because their priorities have shifted. They want peace over small talk, depth over obligation. They don't want to spend energy on relationships that feel draining or superficial. Maybe you've noticed this in yourself. Maybe you've stopped returning every phone call. Maybe you've politely declined more invitations. That doesn't mean you're shutting people out. It means you're choosing what feels good to your heart. There's real strength in that. But there's also value in holding on to a few meaningful connections. The people who get you, who listen without judgment, who make you feel truly seen. These don't have to be many. Even one or two real relationships can bring light to your quiet days. You may not want a crowded room anymore, but a quiet conversation with someone who truly cares, that can still fill your soul. So, if your social world has gotten smaller, that's okay. It's normal. And in many ways, it can even be a gift, a chance to focus on what matters most. Without distraction, let the noise fade, but hold on to the voices that still matter. There was a time when getting out of bed, brushing your teeth, or making a cup of tea felt like second nature. You didn't have to think twice. But after years, something shifts, and the most ordinary routines can quietly turn into serious risks. The morning stretch that once felt good might now bring dizziness. A quick walk to the bathroom at night could end in a fall. Even bending over to tie your shoes can feel dangerous if your balance is off. This change is subtle at first. You may just feel a little off, or notice that you're more cautious than before. But over time, you begin to realize the routines you've repeated for decades now require more thought and more care. One of the biggest culprits, changes in circulation and blood pressure. After long periods of lying down or sitting, your blood flow slows. If you stand up too fast, your body might not adjust quickly enough, causing sudden dizziness or a fall. It's called orthostatic hypotension, and it's more common than you think. For many older adults, one rushed movement in the morning can lead to a broken hip, a hospital stay, or worse, nighttime is no safer. Trips to the bathroom in the dark, especially after drinking fluids, late increase the risk of slipping, losing balance, or misjudging your surroundings. A simple spill of water on the floor or a corner of a rug becomes a hazard you can't afford to ignore. And let's not forget medications. As the body ages, it processes medicine differently. Something that used to be helpful can now cause grogginess, disorientation, or even confusion if taken at the wrong time or on an empty stomach. A once safe pill becomes risky, especially when combined with fatigue, dehydration, or poor sleep. All of this can make everyday living feel like a minefield, and for many seniors, this shift is scary not just because of the physical risk, but because it chips away at confidence. You start questioning everything. Should I get up now? Will I fall again? What if no one's here to help? That fear is real, and it's valid, but there's also power in awareness. When you understand how aging changes your body, you can adjust your routines in small but meaningful ways and protect your safety without giving up your independence. For example, simply pausing before getting out of bed, sit up slowly, take a few deep breaths, wiggle your toes. Let your body catch up before you stand. At night, use motion sensor lights to illuminate the path to the bathroom. Avoid heavy meals or too much liquid before bed. Keep your slippers sturdy and your floors clear of clutter. Even daily habits like showering or cooking can be modified to reduce risk with grab bars, non-slip mats, or seated prep stations. These are not signs of weakness, they're signs of wisdom. Because aging doesn't mean stopping, it means adapting. So if everyday routines feel a little more dangerous than they used to, that's not in your head. That's your body asking for more attention, more care, and more respect. Listen to it, honor it, and make the changes that help you stay safe so you can keep doing the things you love for as long as possible. Physical changes after 75 are easy to spot, but the emotional shifts, those often stay hidden even from yourself. One day, you might feel fine. The next, you feel heavier, not just in body, but in spirit. And the hardest part is that it's hard to explain. No one warned you that aging would affect your heart this much. You may find yourself grieving more often, and not just for people. You might grieve your routines, your old energy, the parts of your life that quietly disappeared without you realizing. The mornings when you could get up easily, the sound of laughter that used to fill the house, the version of you who felt more confident. This grief is real, and it's deep. But because it's not tied to one event, people don't see it. You carry it quietly. There's also the sense of invisibility. As you get older, the world around you seems to move faster, and somehow, you feel more and more left behind. Younger people rush past you. Technology feels overwhelming. Doctors talk over your head. Even your own voice can feel like it gets ignored. That can stir up a question that many seniors are afraid to say out loud: do I still matter? The answer is yes, but it doesn't always feel that way. And that gap between what you know and what you feel can be hard to hold. Some days, regrets show up. Two, not big dramatic ones, but small echoes, things you wish you'd done differently. Words you didn't say. Moments that pass too quickly. These memories visit when you least expect them, and while some bring warmth, others carry sadness. But here's a truth that's often overlooked. Along with the heaviness comes a deeper kind of clarity. When life slows down, reflection becomes easier. You begin to see what truly matters and what never really did. You might find yourself letting go of things that used to bother you. You may forgive people you once swore you never would. You may even begin to feel a quiet kind of peace, knowing that you've lived a full, real, honest life, imperfect. Yes, but deeply meaningful. These emotional shifts, the grief, the questions, the clarity are part of growing older. They're not signs of weakness. They're signs of being fully alive. But it's important to talk about them, because when we don't, we start to believe that we're the only ones feeling this way, and that's simply not true. You are not alone in this emotional journey. And the fact that you feel so much means you're still deeply connected to the world around you. So if you've been feeling more emotional lately, more reflective, more tender, that's not a flaw. That's wisdom rising to the surface. Honor it, talk about it, and remember, even in your quietest days, your heart is still speaking and it still matters. If you've been feeling like life after 75 has become harder in your body, your mind, or your heart, you're not imagining it. And more importantly, you're not failing, you're simply human. And your body, after so many years of carrying you through life, is asking for more care, more gentleness, and more understanding. Yes, things change. The bounce back slows. The circle of friends shrinks. Independence shifts. And emotions come to the surface in ways they never used to. But none of this means you're broken. It means you're entering a new chapter, one that requires a different pace, but not less meaning. There's still beauty to be found in slower mornings, still wisdom in quiet reflection, still strength in choosing rest, and still value in everything you are. Right now, you don't have to fix everything. You don't have to go back to who you were. You only have to meet yourself with compassion exactly where you are. This stage of life doesn't ask you to do more. It invites you to be more present, patient, and proud of how far you've come. And you've come a long, long way. Aging after 75 isn't easy, not because you're doing something wrong, but because life changes in quiet, complex ways. Your body moves slower, your world grows quieter, and your emotions run deeper than ever before. But underneath all those changes is something powerful. The strength to keep going, even gently. You've earned the right to rest, to reflect, to adjust, and still be respected. This season of life isn't the end of your story. It's a softer, wiser chapter 1 where you no longer have to prove anything. You just have to be. So when it feels hard, pause, breathe. Remind yourself, I'm still here. I still matter. And that truth, it's enough. If this message touched something in you, if it made you feel seen, understood, or just a little less alone, we'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts in the comments. What part of aging has surprised you most? What helps you cope on the harder days? Your story might comfort someone else who's walking a similar path. And if you found this helpful, consider subscribing, not for numbers, but for connection, so we can keep sharing gentle reminders that you're not alone and that your experience matters. Take good care of yourself today, and thank you, truly, for being here.